This is what we do and why we do it, baby. We
covering MMA from all over the world. This is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMAjunkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Coach, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Sitting to my far right, it's UFC lightweight Raging Al Iaquinta. And, of course, producing back east, Josh, Jumbo Josh, the Iron Man. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
You're passing these Long Islands around?
Oh, cheers. Thank you.
All right. Salute to the Long Island crew that's in here. You'll note that Raging Al is dry tonight. He's just having a water. It's his father, Jay Iaquinta, who's sitting here in studio with us. So as a tribute to him, we're having Long Islands.
Oh, yeah.
And no, Al is not in any kind of camp or anything. We've been trying. Trust me, he got here early. And we've been trying, picking his brain, trying to figure out how we're going to corner him, how we're going to trick him, how we're going to trap him.
Yeah.
But he has really nothing to announce. But, hey, you know what? Look, he just fought. He just fought this past December. Mid-December, he defeated Kevin Lee in Milwaukee. Sound victory. And we have him ranked as the number 4 ranked UFC lightweight on the USA Today Sports and MMAjunkie rankings. And honestly, whatever fight it's going to be, it's not going to be tough to figure out. It's probably going to be a big fight, and it's going to be for sure a top 10 guy, but probably a top 5 guy. And if you think that Khabib versus Tony is live in any way, then you can just start doing an elimination process. Poirier's up there as well. And then if you believe that McGregor's going to wedge his way back in versus Khabib, then now you got to believe that Poirier or Tony Ferguson or somebody might be next for Al. But anyway, Al, that was a great performance in December. And because of that, we're throwing these names out, man. I mean, 2019 is going to be really, really exciting for you.
It's going to be a big year. I'm looking forward to it. Last year was kind of a weird year, I guess you could say. But everything worked out. For the most part, I would have loved to have won that first one with Khabib, but put me in a good spot to get that Kevin Lee fight and really show what I'm made of. I think a lot of people, including I took
Lee, yeah.
Haha.
I took Kevin Lee, yeah.
I got to take medicine too.
Yeah, no, I think, and I don't blame you. I don't blame a lot of people. It was he had been in everyone's eyes. He's been active,
right? And that was the thing. That was
guys that
when we get to the top there, hey, it's 2 against 8 or 6 against 3. Man, you guys are all awesome. And it's just figuring out, does he do good against southpaws or wrestlers or cardio kings or whatever? But another thing is the lack of activity that you've had in the last 5 years. But now that seems to be changing. You got these last 2 fights that we just talked about, and I imagine you're pretty healthy with the way you're being pushed to the PI.
No, definitely feeling good. Everyone's been taking great care of me at the PI since I've been here.
Plus, a lot of pros always say it's tough to beat somebody twice. But yeah, you did look good. You looked great that fight, man. Your stance, your footwork, your hands, your confidence. Kevin's one of those guys where if he puts it on you, man, if you don't push back in a way, that's it. It's curtains, and he took your back a couple times. You defended well there. So there was a lot of little mini battles within the war itself.
Absolutely.
It was very, very interesting to watch. But in the end, it was you that got your hand raised, and now he's got to dust himself off and come back, and you've already begun that process. You dusted yourself off last April, So, I know that was a loss for you, but there was a lot of wins that you took from that. We've spoken on the show, and you put them, you put a lot of that into place in December, and now, God, man, it's good to be you. And plus, you're one of the guys that stood up for themselves for all these years, and it looks like you're getting paid a lot better from the tweets that I see. Hey, I'm satisfied now, and You have a clear head going into camp. So, like, I really applaud the way you handled that. And honestly, I thought, oh, man, is he going to implode here a couple of those times, you know? Because you know how the UFC can be. But it worked out for you, man. I salute you.
Thank you. No, it's been a crazy ride, and obviously there's probably a few things I could have done a little differently, but the way it's turning out is I wouldn't go back and change anything, really. It's been a fun ride, and I'm looking forward to, like you said, a big year this year. It's going to be a fun one. I'm right up there in the rankings. Kevin Lee was knocking on a title shot. So going in there and really putting on a stellar performance against him throws me right in the mix. It's gonna be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out.
You mentioned Khabib's name. When you get to that point, back up to the top, do you want him to be the guy that's there, or does it matter? Like, is it just about the belt?
I think yeah. I think out of everybody in the top, 5, he's the guy that I think I probably respect the most, and I think it's probably the toughest challenge. So I think that's a fight that I would want to get back. I would want it to be a 5-round title fight again. I kind of would like to just do it again and be able to be prepared this time. Because I think, I'm not saying it could have went however it could have went, but with time to prepare, I just know what I'm capable of, and although I was training for a fight, it was a 3-round fight, 5-round fight. I felt a lot more confident going in my cardio in the first couple of rounds. There was nothing that was in the back of my mind, like, am I going to have the gas to go? I knew, I had trained for it, and I was ready for anything that he threw at me.
Man, you definitely seem like you're much more at the controls, and I'm sure you can credit that to your experience of fighting. But just real quick, you mentioned Khabib. We had in our chat, shout out to everybody in the YouTube chat. Someone says, hey, Al, Khabib fan here. Just want to let you know you're the real Brooklyn gangster.
And that's awesome. Thank you.
And I was going to actually ask you about that, about the respect that it seems like not only getting from fans, fighters, even former foes. We had Jorge Masvidal in here. He didn't take no cheap shots, was nothing but respectful when you were brought up. Are you feeling that now with the success and even, coming up short on the scorecards against Khabib, all the respect you've gotten since then?
Yeah, absolutely. Bunch of the Dagestanis and the Russians have reached out to me on Instagram and Twitter, sending me messages and telling me how they appreciate me stepping up like that and putting on a strong performance. They know how strong their guy is, and for me to do what I did on a short notice says a lot, and I think they respect that.
How were they pre-fight? I hear they can be really, really like a lynch mob that comes after any Khabib opponent.
No, they were pretty good. They were
okay.
pretty good. They kind of were thanking me, like, "Oh, thank you. Khabib's very tough, but thank you for taking the fight." And there was a lot of respect there. I don't think there wasn't anybody that wasn't respectful.
Hey, when that whole thing went down, are you of the opinion that you were the first choice? Have you ever heard what the sequential order has been? I only ask because Michael Chiesa has been very vocal that that cost him a title fight. I don't know that he's directly implied, like they went to him first, but I'm wondering, out of all the names that were there, do you remember how all that panned out? And how much of a thought you gave it?
So crazy that whole weekend, but I couldn't say exactly what their thought process was going to choose me, but I just know I ran down there and I was yelling at them. They knew that I wanted the fight. That wasn't, I think there might have been other guys that showed a little interest. Maybe they wanted more money. Maybe they wanted,
Pettis had already weighed in was another thing, right? At 56 or something like that. I hope I got that right. I just remember, there was a little process of elimination. But
yeah. But, whatever it was that got me, I just let them know that I definitely wanted to fight and that I was going to come to fight. And I told Sean Shelby, I'm your guy.
And why did you, though? Because, again, up until then, you and the UFC hadn't been the best of friends. Like you just said, you prepared for a 3-round fight, not a 5-round fight. Was it just because, hey, I might win this title?
Absolutely. It's
even though they weren't. I don't know. Did you have a chance to renegotiate before that fight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, they did. They definitely bumped my pay a lot.
Gotcha.
A lot for that fight.
So you did hit some of your check marks then of what you would want.
No, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. And I mean, even if the pay was the same, it's thank God it wasn't, because that would have been a weird decision to make. But just having an opportunity like that, some guys they're around forever. They don't get that opportunity. So
Right.
if it's there, you gotta jump on it. And it didn't work out great, but it worked out. I think it worked out better that I did than didn't. I think a performance like that over with Khabib might have been more valuable than a win over just a regular top 10 guy, on an undercard or in the beginning of the.
I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
As I was asking him the question, I was almost thinking, wait a minute, I kind of know the answer. It was the roll of the dice that he could be a champion that
That's
night.
it. Roll the
Kind
dice.
of trumps a lot of other things, you know what I mean?
So after that night, though, you knew Khabib was very vocal about giving you your props. The fans did. But what about just the UFC brass? Did they ever at some point come and say, hey, man, I know we've had our differences, but thank you.
No, absolutely. Sean Shelby and Hunter Campbell both gave me a call and expressed exactly that to me.
That's cool.
They said, you went out there and you fought like an animal, fought tough. So they appreciated it for
What
sure.
about Dana White?
He shook my hand after in the cage, and he said, "Thanks for taking the fight."
Right.
He definitely was appreciative of it, for sure.
So now let's fast forward. You defeat Kevin Lee. Like I said, I don't know what the UFC rankings are, but I imagine you have to be in the same spot or similar. But what kind of a phone call do you anticipate you'll get that'll sort all this out? First, Nevada's got to shake things out with Khabib and Conor, but
that's the big,
what's your gut telling
big
you? One more fight versus who? Who are you probably envisioning you're going to mix it up with?
I could see it being any one of those, top three guys, really. Ferguson, Conor, or Dustin.
Uh-huh.
I think it'll be one of those guys.
Who do you want personally?
It really doesn't matter. I think all three of those guys, a good win over either any one of them puts me right up there to get that title shot again. I think I had a better, I put on a better fight than Conor did against Khabib. So I think he should have to fight somebody. An immediate rematch.
The performance didn't warrant it, right?
It did not. It definitely didn't. He definitely not. So, and then, I beat Kevin Lee, who's another guy I think would give Conor tons of trouble. So I feel like he's kind of like even though he's ranked above me, I feel like he's.
Conor is?
Pretty sure he's ranked. Yeah, he's ranked third
on the UFC
second.
rankings.
Yeah.
Let me look at them. I know Dan's got some. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, let me ask you, when you're bringing up these matchups, I was thinking about them the other day too, and the reason why, and again, outsider's perspective, what does a dummy like me know I picked against your last fight? But just humor me for a second. The reason why I think those matchups are difficult for all those individuals against you is because of, just put in simple sense, your wrestling and your boxing ability. And something I've always wanted to ask you, because it's something that for people that have been watching you, you've had a awesome boxing ability. Of course, everybody knows your jiu-jitsu connections with Matt Serra, and you had a background in wrestling as well. But I wanted to ask about your boxing. Is there any influences, whether it was as a kid, trainers, or things you just kind of look to? Because when I see you, I just think of classic, whether it's 1980s the middleweight division there, or even older guys from the 50s. I just see all these different influences, man.
I wouldn't say anything in particular. Just the craft that I kind of fell in love with, and just Ray Longo and I have very similar philosophies on boxing and kickboxing, MMA. So we have an open line of communication. He's always passing on. If he sees a fight, a boxing fight, he'll send me clips all the time of things and the things that stand out to him also stand out to me, and we have a similar kind of philosophy on a lot of things. So definitely that, and just I think I I went anywhere and boxed anyone. So I don't think I've sparred with professional boxers, world champions, Chris Algieri, fought Manny Pacquiao. So
Right, yeah.
I've been in there with the toughest guys in just boxing. So I definitely have a lot of confidence in it as well.
I guess that's why I kind of led you down that road for a second. I'm glad you brought up Ray Longo, because when we have him on the show, that's what I love about Ray. He seems like such an encyclopedia of references, whether it's traditional martial arts side to boxing. That's got to be crazy useful, right?
Absolutely. He's always, will pull up a situation on a fight that happened and say, "Oh, go back and you got to watch that fight." And I'll go back and I'll watch it. And you just learn so much from, history and stuff like that.
Right on.
All right, so I'm looking here.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure it out. But can you clarify what Conor's burn or his roast was when you rose your hand and said, roast me next, roast me next? He said something about Joe.
Yeah,
was he referring to Rogan?
I think so. Sure he did Joe, because I think Joe said that I did better than Conor, or I fought better.
Okay.
He goes, sure he did Joe, and has my face with the black and blues on it. But
that's what he meant. Okay.
yeah.
So one of our writers also thought it's a Joe Rogan reference, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it is. Not his best. It's not. Who the fuck is that guy?
Right.
Wasn't that kind of
Yeah.
No, not at all.
That's what I was hoping for.
I think you tried to do a similar one
People
to
know
Max.
who you are. I mean, people know who Jeremy is, but he got Jeremy on that day.
Yeah.
He got a loud voice, a mic, and he's owning that whole press conference. I mean, yeah. But all right, so that's kind of what we figured. I think you kind of already explained what your thoughts are on that. I mean, you went the distance. Conor didn't. You didn't even come in with a full camp, so I'm sure you have your defense, your comebacks to that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, took the fight on a 5-round fight on a 3-round camp, and I went the distance. What's his excuse? He looked like he was way more tired in the 3rd than I was in the 5th, and I didn't even train for a 5. So
what
says a lot.
are your personal feelings towards that guy? Are you a fan? Like, is he a character? When he fights, it is a show.
I was a big fan, but I think he's getting a little out of control now. I think attacking people on a bus is
The ego's out of control.
Yeah, it's a little out of control. I respect it. I thought he was the guy that would kind of do what he did, but stay true to his, stay true to the martial arts. He seemed like in the beginning he was really, kind of like the martial way, do the right thing, respect fellow competitors, roll in this kind of thing with the same goals. But he was just someone that wanted to be, he had his goals set out to be the best, and now that he is the best and he's got a lot of money, I think he's just a little out of control.
It's always 50-50 when I ask that question. A lot of fighters just flat out don't like him, and then others understand the hustle, and obviously he's paved the way for a lot of people to get these bumps in the the Rays getting a bigger percentage as a whole, fighters as a whole, versus what the UFC takes home, So that's why I asked that.
I definitely respect. I enjoy the theatrics leading up to a fight. It definitely draws people in, but I think sometimes it goes a little too far. You can be a good entertainer without. It was a little overboard. Someone could have seriously got injured, and someone that had nothing to do with anything.
Mm-hmm.
There was people on that bus that were UFC employees. Freaking bus driver probably doesn't even know what the hell's going on.
You're 31 now, and I know you had some injuries, but there was also a time where it was just a contract dispute. So let's just call it like maybe 29, 30, or 28, 30, 29. You can't get those back. Was it still worth it for you, though?
No, absolutely.
Not just from a pride stance, but the financial side. Were you able to maybe make up on that end what the holdout represented?
Yeah, it forced me to learn the real estate, so I learned a whole new craft. I'm not worried so much about. I feel like I got that out of the way, kind of like the retirement, what am I going to do next kind of thing. I got that out of the way. I kind of know what I'm going to do next now, so it's definitely stress. It's a little more relieving.
Is business booming?
Business is booming.
Yeah. Did you
Business
sell
is
Ray
booming.
Longo's mom's house yet?
Yeah, well, we haven't put it on the market yet,
Oh.
but that'll sell. That's going to sell pretty fast.
All right.
That'll sell
Nice.
fast.
Yeah, he
It's
told
in
us
a
about
good-
it the other day.
Good area. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if from an outsider's perspective, I feel like I got my answer at least within the last month. One, from a martial arts and fighter perspective, I think it was worth it, and I think you proved that with the performance against Kevin Lee. Obviously, like we just said, people gave you even respect against Khabib, but you know, you showed so much skills and just proved a lot of people wrong, obviously, right? But more impressively, I dare say, is actually right now, guys. I don't know about you. I mean, just following you from early on in your career, the maturity is actually blowing me away because I agree with your answers for what it's worth about Connor and whatnot, but that maturity is awesome because, again, people that aren't familiar with your career, we can rewind back to, I don't know, was it the Lozon fight you have, having maybe you got your nickname Raging Al from, and I guess long-winded here, but tying it in, are you kind of glad you had those experiences young, whereas, and I'm not making an excuse for Connor, but whereas Connor is having to have his episodes and they're on the big stage, so they're bigger by nature. If that makes any sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's all working out the way that it should. It's it's starting to come together at the right time. So I'm happy.
Nice, man.
What do you think of the ESPN era?
I think it's huge. It's going to be huge. We were talking. Me and my father were talking yesterday. We were watching ESPN, and it was 4 football analysts talking about Ronda Rousey and comparing an NFL coach to her, and these are people that have never.
Comparing an NFL coach to Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, I forget what the comparison was, but they brought.
Were they drunk?
They brought.
I don't see any connection here.
I guess someone came on hot, and they were like, "This coach is just coming on the scene, and he's blowing everybody away. Is he the real deal, or is everyone gonna catch up to him, and is it gonna be that kind of thing?"
Wow.
But even just making that, on ESPN, everyone's now listening is just reaching so many more people that are sports fanatics that it's the perfect demographic. So I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
It's interesting because it starts off as kind of like a compliment on the scene, like Ronda Rousey when she took over the UFC, but then the fall.
Yeah.
I don't know if there comes a backhand
Yeah.
to that compliment,
Yeah.
but
I'm still a little
sure
bitter
she wouldn't
towards
trade
these
it in.
guys.
To,
I need to get over it
To
towards
who?
ESPN.
yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing this show 11 years, and for a lot of that beginning part, they shit on our sport so bad, man.
Yeah.
Hearing it over and over, and then all of a sudden to just kind of see them come around and, hey, everybody come on. I got to get over it. I know it. There is something cool about just being a little kid and watching them ESPN fights and all that, and now seeing you guys up there. I do like that. But there is a piece of me where if we ever had any of those guys on there, I would like to kind of remind them of their opinion 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it seems like everyone's. I mean, that was everyone's opinion in when it first 93 and in the 90s, and I think slowly but surely it's just becoming more accepted. There's still people out there that are it's so barbaric and blah, 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 blah. It's but those people are coming around.
We got watch football highlights. Those are pretty bad too, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
Football highlights, guys getting leveled, not even seeing it
Oh,
coming.
yeah.
And dude, every sport's
Well,
got
it's just
man.
yeah. It's
Except for the quarterback, you have to
Nah.
grab them and
have to
then
negotiate
put them
with 'em.
down like you're doing some sort of a waltz. You can't tackle like you used to, right, sir? Mr. Iaquinta? Remember before? Free safety's aiming for the wide receiver. You got to send a message. Don't come across the middle and think you're going to catch that on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
And now, it's like the shoulder and the guy's rushing the quarterback. They have to lay him down and like a little princess, or like you're putting your kid to bed.
Yeah.
Oh, have a nice night. But what are you going to do?
That's just the way it is now.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Less hitting these days.
Ally Quinta, are you a pay-per-view star? Like, are you a pay-per-view guy? Is that you want to fight on a pay-per-view on your next fight?
absolutely.
Or do you like what you and Kevin did, which was to highlight your own show? You command the poster, and it's titled after you. What's your preference?
Either one. I do think 5-round fights are better for me. I like the 5-round fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's definitely to my advantage.
You're not getting paid overtime.
Or do you?
Oh, shit. Did you negotiate that?
You might get.
If anybody
you
did, it'd be
definitely-
him, right?
Definitely get a little more for main event fights and stuff like that.
Wow. Hey, you know what? That's huge.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that? You have a smart agent? Your pops? Who came up with that one?
I think a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of came to a good agreement. I mean, I was very happy with what I got paid for the last fight, and came away the winner. Got the bonus. It all worked out. It was a long time coming. This whole thing. So,
What's the number at on your camps as far as weeks? Like, what's the perfect scenario? How many weeks do you want for a 5-round fight?
it's like 10 weeks, but really the last 6 are really intense. The first 4 are kind of like getting a base, nothing too crazy, but then the weeks 6 through until there's 10 days left.
Mm-hmm.
So those 6 weeks, really 6 weeks I need to get being a little bit being in decent shape.
You don't strike me as one of those guys that falls out of shape or anything like that. Even now, there's no fight, but here you are trying to improve yourself, and do you look good?
Yeah, I let myself go for the holidays a little bit, eat, drink,
Yeah.
enjoy. It was perfect. The timing was perfect. I fought like a week before Christmas, so I was able to eat, drink, enjoy the time with the family and everything, and then now we're back focused, and getting ready. Cause
Who got you the best present for Christmas?
Aljo?
Aljo,
What did he get you?
Aljo, just Aljo being Aljo is a great present.
You guys still roommates?
He moved. He actually bought a house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Ah.
he bought a house right, pretty close. We're pretty close, so we're pretty much neighbors. But
Was it sad to see him go? Did you give him a good hug, or
it was sad.
you guys were pretty tight?
We still are very tight. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was
What do you miss about not having Aljo in the house?
the garbage piles up.
Oh, he was a clean freak?
He was. I wouldn't say he was a freak, but he was definitely clean. Definitely. See, I would always forget to take the garbage out, and it would just pile up. And then I'd come back, and it was all gone. I'm like, Aljo, did you take the garbage out? He goes, yeah. Oh, thanks, man. I keep forgetting. So I'd always forget. He'd always remember to take out the garbage.
Now, I don't know if I can just give you a pass on that. The garbage isn't like the water heater that's in the garage that no one sees maybe every 6 months.
Yeah.
It's right there in the kitchen. Like, how do you forget?
Well, no.
Could it be you just don't like
take
taking
the
it
garbage.
out?
I take the garbage bags and throw it in the garbage pit, like the outside of the house. But then bringing them to the curb so the garbage man can take it. That was that's where I dropped.
I
the ball.
thought the kitchen was starting to overflow
No,
with
no,
banana
no.
peels and
No,
bottles.
the house I'm pretty clean. The house I keep clean.
Hey, that's where I dropped the ball too. And thanks, Al. Tonight's my night. You just reminded me tonight that I got to take it out to the curb.
You
Thank
should
you.
set a
know what?
reminder because I'd always remember at times like this, and then
I'll get it when I get home.
I'd get home and then it'd be the next day, and I'd be like, shit.
What's that noise outside? Oh God!
Freaking raccoons.
The audience
Freaking
can't see
raccoons
this,
would attack the garbage.
Oh yeah, New York.
but I saw the look on his dad's face when he talked about not taking out the trash, and that looks like a battle that's been going on for years.
Really?
Does this
Yeah.
go back to even when he was a kid? Was he forgetting to take out the garbage then?
Yeah.
So you want to step him back?
By the way, if the UFC wanted me to be a fighter,
Yeah.
I know everybody would look at me and go, "You're a heavyweight." I'm a lightweight because that's getting to me. And look at that. I barely sipped on it. I remember the Long Island's a strong drink,
Oh yeah.
Well, you got
so it's gonna be one for me. Don't let me order another one. I don't drink much, but when I do,
we got
I get buzzed earlier. But wow,
doesn't help when you
either
have.
that or she makes them strong.
Well,
Right?
they make him strong. But
Holy cow!
Yeah, you got Clarissa Cosby over there making the drinks. Careful.
Yeah.
Should do a power hour.
So let's get to the here are the locations. All right. I know we're jumping everywhere. What was the best gift? You dodged that one.
Oh,
you either tell us that or the worst in your life.
the best gift. My sister got me headphones, Beats.
Nice.
Some good ones.
What's in now? Is it the ones that go over the ear, or is everyone going in the ear now?
No, the ones that go over.
Yeah.
Go over the
Still happening?
Yeah.
I'll
I
tell you who's abused it more than anybody. King Mo.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that guy. You're gonna the day he's gone, we're gonna have to bury him in those things,
Yeah,
man.
he's always
He
got those
always
things on.
has headphones on.
I'm gonna have to switch over. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if mine's back to you talking about vestibular stuff. I don't know since my concussion. If I feel weird if I'm blasting because I have just the inner ear beats,
Yeah.
and I feel weird if I'm
Do those get
blasting
the
them
job
too
done?
loud. They're great, but since
Keep them in.
since
Don't
my
just fall
I don't
out.
know, it feels like it's too loud. I feel like I need more cushion to more ease into my ear.
It's not like
I don't know.
I'm like a stylish guy
Okay.
or anything like that.
So it's not for
But
style points. You
no,
don't care
no,
about
no.
that.
I
Okay.
just watched the Lakers have this series, Backstage Lakers, and it'll show the team what they're doing when they're not playing. But I'm figuring those are the millionaires that are they're in LA, so they're on top of all that.
Right.
And I see Kyle Kuzma, one of the young guys, getting off. He's got the ones that are inner ear, and I'm like, is everyone going that route? I
I
don't
see
know.
those at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the gym makes sense. I
No,
don't
no
think it
wire.
works.
It's just they stick. But I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too.
Do they just fall out?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm the last guy to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Circling back to you though, I'm going to give you some cities. This is where the UFC's going. All right. These are set. You tell me. Just make a noise like, oh, that tells me that would interest you. Here we go. Brooklyn's too soon. That's next week. Fortaleza, Brazil. That's February 2nd. Nah, you're not gonna be ready for that one.
I'm saying probably March.
All right. So we'll
And
start with
even
March
like the
2nd,
end-
Las
end of-
Vegas.
Soon.
Soon. Okay.
I'm thinking like the end of March. There's one
Wichita,
March,
Kansas, March 9th.
Kansas.
You don't know about no Kansas? Okay.
Yeah.
March 16th, London, England. He doesn't want to pay the taxes. He's smart. You know what I mean? Here we go. March 30th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Ooh. That could be.
Does the New Yorker
Philly.
want to fight a Philly guy? Start a little rivalry there? Or does the New Yorker not care? He just wants to be on the Philly card?
No, I think it's close to home. It'd be a good one.
He was scheduled against a Philly guy in New York.
Yeah. He's fighting.
He's booked up
got
right now.
Vic.
Yeah.
Who does Felder have?
Vic. I don't know when.
James
I
Vick.
don't have a date off the top of my head. but
I
yeah.
think it's next week.
No, they're
No?
not fighting in Brooklyn. I don't think.
Okay. Well, they're fighting because I know he's in camp. And so now we're thinking, let's see here. They haven't booked the headliner there. Al's reached headline status. So it's either that or wait for the April pay-per-view.
April 13th, right? Where's that one? Do they have
April
a venue?
13th, I have not heard. It says McGregor versus Ferguson? Who wrote that? This must
What
be a
is this
joke or
on?
something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Don't pay attention.
I don't know what city it's in, but the next week, yeah, April 13th is a pay-per-view. Otherwise, the Philly card would be on ESPN2. So you would be, you could possibly be the poster guy if you headline.
That'd be nice.
Poirier,
That'd be nice. That'd be a good one.
do you like
Dustin?
being on the same fight card or near where the champ's fighting, like you were in Brooklyn before it turned out you fought the champ?
Yeah.
I always say that's the best.
Yeah, I think that's
That's a perfect
that's
example
definitely-
as to why.
Yeah, you can hop right in there.
All right.
Yep.
All right, we got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We have UFC lightweight Al Iaquinta in the house.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here Georgian goes.
Tonight at 10 Eastern, the Los Angeles Lakers collide with the Utah Jazz. Catch all the action from the hardwood on NBA Radio, Sirius 207 XM86, and streaming on your phone, or at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. Al Iaquinta, UFC lightweight, is our guest here. He's in studio talking about what might be next for him in 2019. We haven't really been able to connect dots, but if I'm a betting man, which I am, we're in the fight capital of the world, where wagers tend to happen. We're in a sports book, for crying out loud, so I'm real familiar with this game. I'm thinking it's going to be Iaquinta and Poirier at the UFC in Philly.
In Philly?
Yeah.
Man,
Sounds like a party.
as a fan, that just sounds like a really fun matchup. You know, I was thinking of Poirier the other day, and I definitely would prefer this over what I'm about to say. But for some reason, everybody keeps talking about Holloway coming up to 55, and for whatever reason, they keep pairing him against Ferguson. I want Holloway to stay down at 45 as much as he wants to if he thinks he can make the weight or whatever. Obviously, it's his choice. But I was thinking, I would almost rather see like a rematch with like Holloway and Poirier. But you put
They
that
fought here at Mandalay Bay, yeah.
yeah, and you know I think it would be more fun than a Holloway versus Ferguson or but at the same time, if you put that up next to a Iaquinta versus Poirier, as a fan, man, I don't.
That's anarchy.
It's just insane. I don't see how you go wrong with either option. All those guys deliver.
Sammy the
I'm just
Squid
speaking
in the
selfishly
house.
though.
Yeah. Looking sharp. Where you guys headed to? Dinner. All right. Well, after that. Wow, that's a good-looking couple, right? Just for dinner?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Nice. Salud. I
Well,
think you have a drink in your hand, right?
I like the fight.
All right.
I don't know either one, and there's no disrespect to you. I don't know that either one of you guys can stick to a game plan in that fight. I think the second you guys hit each other, it's going to be so much fun that you guys are just going to take it to each other. I don't know that there'll be a guy standing at the end of that fight.
I would say
I'll
that,
be
but
standing.
their most recent fights though really showed some maturity though. Obviously keeping the focus here on Al, like kind of parlaying what I was saying earlier, and that's another interesting thing. I mean, we've seen him keep the pressure under who is ranked the best lightweight fighter in the world, and we saw Dustin Poirier being able to stay focused against a marauder like a Justin Gaethje. So that's super impressive on both ends. It'll be a fun fight.
I'm going to give you a compliment in your last fight, all right? Here's what I took out of it. I felt like there were things that you did to Kevin that Kevin just wasn't expecting. That he just didn't think you were going to do or that you could do. And I thought the reverse, you were expecting everything that he was doing. Like you were ready for it.
I agree
seems like
100%.
A lot of stuff you did caught him off guard. Like he almost wasn't thinking you would do it.
Yep. No, I think right from the beginning I went out and shot in, grabbed his leg, hit that spinning elbow, which kind of just missed. If that connected on the point, I think it would have been that would have been it for him. But no, I felt like I've seen it all. I've been in there with. I really do have guys in each discipline that are better than him in a lot of ways. So when I'm sparring with when he switches to southpaw, and he's trying to fight me southpaw, he's a righty. He's just a righty fighting southpaws. I've sparred with southpaws that are real southpaws that know how to use their angles, and they fight like southpaws, good southpaws. So a righty fighting southpaws, it was almost like laughable. Obviously, he's strong, he's powerful, he's got a good takedown, which I had to think a lot about, but nothing surprised me. It's not. I'm training with guys that are just leaps about. Well, he took my back, and I was like, "Oh wow, he's strong." And then we started fighting hands, and I was like, "Wow, this is." I thought he was going to be, a lot more tactical. I think there's guys that I train with that if they get your back, good luck getting them off, and you're just counting down the seconds till they got their arms wrapped around you. Guys that are just training jiu-jitsu, they're doing jiu-jitsu 24/7. Jason Rao, he's ranked top 10 in the world in jiu-jitsu. No-gi, great from the back, great from transitions to leg locks, chokes from the front. So, I mean, I'm working with guys that are just, top of the top.
Yeah, I was listening to Matt Serra detail kind of the prep as far on the Unfiltered podcast he was on, and that's what impressed me the most. I mean, I love that note, by the way, as a right-handed southpaw. I love that note as far as southpaws go. It's very, very true. Not a lot of people will get that, but what impressed me was that back defense, because it wasn't just back defense, bad position against a professional fighter or a good one. Like, Kevin Lee is really good from that spot, even if he was making questionable decisions or you could be critical like you were, and that's fair. But one thing you can't take away from him, when he gets top or when he gets back, he's super dangerous. And you were calm, but more importantly, your actions and the way you navigated out of the situations matched your emotion. That was really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, no, after the fight, thinking back, I thought the same thing. I was just cool, calm, collected, knew when to get it, when to make the right move to get out, and how to weather the storm. He was definitely, even when he had my back, he was not as comfortable as I was. He was kind of holding on. He didn't want to let me get up, and I was just kind of happy there, not in too much danger, just weathering the storm and waiting till we got back up to the feet where I knew he'd be exhausted and a little shot mentally after not being able to get the finish like he thought he was going to be able to.
That's one thing I learned is that body triangle, how taxing it is on the legs. I don't think you want to be doing that for too long in a 5-round fight. In a 3-round fight, I've seen a lot of fighters do it and be able to apply it, win rounds, get the riding time or whatever. But in the 5-round fight, that's actually something that I picked up not only from the announcers, but then consulting some of the guys at Extreme and then breaking that down to me. I was like, whoa.
That's a great point. I mean, I even forgot about that point myself. Like, I'm pretty, confident in triangle defense. So, like, if someone's a triangle, you let them wear their legs out. Kind of a similar thing. Obviously, Al knows what I'm talking about. But it's not obviously it's not your plan A is to get caught in a submission. And obviously, it's not your plan A to get your back taken. But that principle, like you said, applies. And I'm sure many other people who have practiced, forget these basic principles. And you guys bring them to life in the chaos of a fight, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
All right, we got to take another break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We have UFC lightweight Al Iaquinta in the house.
They were abducted by aliens and instantly returned for raiding all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Every NFL game is on SiriusXM. Tomorrow at 4:35 Eastern, the Indianapolis Colts take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and at 8:15 Eastern, the Dallas Cowboys face the LA Rams. Hear the games on SiriusXM NFL Radio Channel 88 and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. All right, we're going to have a court case here settled by Al Iaquinta. Al's a reasonable guy, but he's from the streets, so he knows how things work, all right? I want to get your thought. That chump that just left, you know, I'm just kidding. He's a nice guy. It's the Squid?
Squid.
Yeah. He's a big Cowboys fan. You're from New York. You've heard these pain-in-the-ass Cowboys fans all your life, right? Mm-hmm. He's one of them. The Squid and another buddy I have, have just been – it's been an onslaught. Just Cowboys
never
this,
shut up.
Cowboys that. We're in the playoffs. We're going all the way. Last week, though, they said, you know, if the Cowboys win and the Eagles win, the Cowboys go to the Rams, which is L.A., 3 hours away. We're going. Turns out they're not going. So I was like, man, you guys were talking all that shit. You guys are big Cowboys fans, and now you're pussing out, you know?
They have the money to do it. It's not a money situation.
Yeah, and they want to watch it at home on their comfy TVs. Who's right? I'm right? I think they're being little
Yeah, if you're gonna talk all
pussies,
that,
you know?
if you're gonna talk all that game, and you're such big fans,
You gotta go,
you gotta
right?
make the trip.
I mean, they haven't
There's
won a
nothing wrong
playoff
with-
game in 20-some years, and now they're 2 games away from the Super Bowl, and they're right there in their back. The other guy lives 1 hour away.
Yeah. If I were them, if I was a big fan, I'd be there.
That's
But-
what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
I was trying to convince him right now, you're going to regret it. Meanwhile, he's slinging 500 a game on these college basketball games. He's pretty good at it, too. And so I'm like, just pretend you bet a game and lost, you know?
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
can't take that memory back.
Yeah.
You have any good memories of games you went to?
I went to
As
the
a kid?
Pacquiao and
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Mayweather fight.
Oh.
I just happened to be here, and
I just happen to know how much you paid for your ticket,
it
too.
was too much.
Should I shut my mouth?
Well, you could say it.
Oh, I can say. Really?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Al Iaquinta paid three G's, right?
Yeah.
For the Pacquiao Mayweather ticket. You believe that, Dan Tom?
I remember hearing that now.
But-
yeah.
But he was there, and you've made the money back. The money comes and goes. I'm sure you had a good experience. It didn't live up.
The
but
fight was way better in person.
Okay.
Was
I
it?
can see
The
that. I can
arena-
see that.
The
I
arena
can see
didn't
that.
have the same reaction as everyone else did. You know, the arena. It was maybe it was the energy, just the energy in the arena, the tension, but it was good. It was
wow, how nice of these guys. They're bringing us tequila?
You know, he fights next weekend. Is there any chance you would go to that?
Really?
I'm
Pacquiao?
gonna be in Brooklyn.
Oh. Okay, yes. All right. I'm not sure if this is this got to do with modern day and Bosco or? Okay. What is going on? You see that, Mr. Iaquinta?
This is great.
He's a high school John. He's a high school football coach, and he knows. So St. John Bosco, you've heard of them, right? No, St. John Bosco in California. They're modern day's biggest rival. Yeah, he's a Bosco supporter over there. So I got that from the last game.
Oh, nice.
I won't mention the fact that they kicked our ass the first time, but I didn't know them then. So, see, high school's big out here. It's a big thing. How long have you been coaching high school? How long have you been coaching high school football? Wow!
Really?
Salute to you, sir. Wow. I
That's
bet you
awesome.
a lot of kids have fond memories of you, and I mean, a lot of people look up to their coaches, and that's a huge thing you do. You know?
It's very true.
Wow, that's awesome. And did you play?
I played growing up. I played until I was a sophomore in high school. That's when wrestling. I really just focused on wrestling. So
You played for your dad?
no, he was at a different high school. I played against him in lacrosse.
No shit.
We played
He
against
coaches that
each
too?
other. Yeah, he was.
Lacrosse is fun, dude. That hasn't caught on as much on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's getting.
But
it's
it's starting to, and
California's
it's
got a really
fun,
good
dude.
lacrosse.
Do fights break out in lacrosse too?
Not so
No.
much. No.
You have a weapon there. I mean, you can just clothesline somebody,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Hurts,
dangerous.
dude.
Yeah.
When that thing comes down on your
Freaking
forearm.
hurts.
Oh.
Huh.
when you get pelted with that ball.
Yeah.
That's not
Really?
fun. Oh yeah, it's a hard rubber ball. And the goalies don't wear much equipment. I wasn't a goalie, but
Were you pretty good?
yeah, it was pretty good. I could have been. I think my focus was on wrestling, But I was always good. Yeah, I didn't spend the extra. I didn't put in the extra time for lacrosse. It was kind of just having fun with my friends playing lacrosse. Or, I'd go to lacrosse practice, but I'd really be looking forward to going to wrestling camp later that night. I was just kind of having fun, getting a workout in, and then I was always wrestling year round.
You had a Letterman's jacket, right? Wrestling? Did you get one of those? What's your take on them kids that walk around with, like, badminton and they get a Letterman's jacket?
Are you trying to figure out what kind of kid Al was in high school? Is that what you're trying to do right now? Trying to figure out
I don't know. I always look at him.
I ran cross country.
Cross country?
Cross country was. I did that to prepare myself for wrestling season. It was, during football season right before wrestling. So I was on the cross country team and just ran and ran and ran.
Yeah.
That's actually what I was going to ask, because they're commenting on you don't let yourself get too far out. I don't think you seem like a guy that's like these lightweights coming from 195. I don't think that's your scenario.
No.
What about wrestling? Obviously the body's going crazy at that time, but did you ever go crazy heights for your body?
Cut way too much weight in high school, and I wrestled in junior college. And cut way too much weight.
So you learned the lesson early. Is that that influence your mixed martial art?
Absolutely. That's something that I'll never do again. Is kind of compromise myself, getting my weight down.
Off the top of your head, do you know your high school wrestling record?
No. I mean, as a junior and senior, I lost a couple matches. Only
All right.
less than a handful of matches.
Right. So you're one of the top dogs in Long Island your year?
I was up there. I was always good.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Al Iaquinta's in the house here. We're at the top of the hour. It's going to be a quick break, and we'll be right back in about 60 seconds. Stay close. Don't touch that dial. Right? Yeah, okay, thank God.
They were abducted by aliens and instantly returned for raiding all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Why?
All right. We're back. Goes and I are sweating this Maryland-Indiana game. We need Maryland to win by 5 points, and right now they're up 5. And they have somebody at the free throw line who's got one more shot to make. So you may hear an expletive or some high five in here in the next 30 seconds. We're joined in studio by Al Iaquinta, UFC lightweight. He's number 4 ranked in the USA Today Sports and MMA Junkie rankings. All right, Goes, we're up by 1. And we're having a good time here, finding out a little bit more about Al. He does a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you guys don't know. He was an excellent high school wrestler. He played lacrosse, something I didn't know till today. He was at the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. He's a successful real estate agent in Long Island. And now that his roommate's gone, the aforementioned Aljamain Sterling, he does let the trash pile up. In a nutshell, that's a. You have a girlfriend now, or are you a single guy?
I
Yeah.
have a girlfriend.
Okay. How long you guys been
2
dating?
years.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
I have a question. You're one of the fighters that already has his future planned out. You have a career. We've seen other fighters kind of slip into that commentary role or the Fox desk, which will now be the ESPN desk. Have you ever thought about doing any of that type of stuff?
No, absolutely. I think it's something. It's a whole new thing that I would be able to attack. It's really an art in itself. It seems like.
Well, your gym seems like they're the best at the X's and O's, describing it, what's going on, the chess game. I think your gym is one of the
I
better
think we
ones at that.
definitely have the philosophy that we have on fighting is it's a unique one. When I explain what I do to people, I think it's a lot different than the way a lot of other fighters would explain it. Definitely more of a kind of cerebral chess. Kind of fighter, not just a all-out brawler that's going out there with like no technique.
It wouldn't shock me if you play chess. Do you play chess?
I don't. When I was little, I used to play a decent amount, but I haven't played in so long.
Play instruments?
I played the trumpet growing up, but that too I didn't. Was about
You were a cross-country runner for how many years?
7th grade. So I did that for. I think I ran cross country for 3 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, my sophomore, junior, and senior year.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you were a better wrestler than a cross-country runner, though. You don't really have that
Definitely
lanky build,
Yeah, no, I would struggle to keep up with. I mean, I was always good. I pushed myself, but no, there was some guys that were they're genetically gifted to run.
But you did it for the benefit of your wrestling?
Yeah,
just to get in better shape and all that?
You know what? That's another thing. I think peaking as far as wrestling, I always peaked in the beginning of the season, and I was always in shape in the beginning of the season. And then as the season went on, I would kind of run myself down, trying to cut too much weight and overtraining. So I think I would have taken it easier in the beginning and kind of try to peak towards the end of the season, which I never really did.
Iaquinta, our guest here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. If you want to call in and chat with us, it's 877-FIGHT-93 or 877-344-4893. We got a couple calls. Who do we got?
We got Kevin in Chicago.
What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
What's up, guys? Raging Yale, the Italian Stallion.
Yo.
Way to shut that clown Kevin Lee up, man.
Damn.
It had to be done.
Wow, that's a big
It had to
compliment
be
coming
done.
from
Way to
Kevin.
go, man.
It is. Usually Kevin's pretty partial to the wrestlers, but Kevin's also a wrestler, so I would have never expected that one. Yeah.
He went against Kevin and a wrestler for Al. That's big. That's big ups to Al right here.
Yeah. So what's up, Kevin?
I wanted to ask Al. I know I was listening to an interview a while back, and he said he did a wrestling camp in Minnesota. I want him to answer what he thinks the wrestling is like in the East Coast versus the Midwest. Kind of compare the two.
He stumped you?
Yeah, I don't know. What would be the difference? I don't know.
Just make something up. You ain't gonna catch on.
I would say maybe. It seems like I could be wrong, but this is just kind of what It seems like the Midwest wrestlers are a little more like strong, straightforward wrestlers, and the East Coast guys might be a little more technical, but not as
There you go.
not as strong and as straightforward.
All right.
And I could be wrong, but that's just how I kind of see it. Maybe that's because I'm not really a strong, straightforward wrestler. I'm more of a
Technique guy?
technique guy, I think.
All right. Kevin, you still with us, or we got the next guy? Who's next?
Joe from Houston.
Joe from H-Town. What's
Joe.
up, bud?
Joe.
Good morning, fellas.
What's
Good
up, Joe?
evening, Joe.
Hey, that was a terrible question with Kevin. He got to do better next time, poor kid, man. But Raging Al, what's going on, Raging Al?
What's up, man? I'm just out here in Vegas living life.
Man, you know you're sitting next to some Kevin Lee nuthuggers, right?
What's that?
You're sitting next to a few Kevin Lee nuthuggers. You knew that, right?
That's all right. That's all right.
Man,
That didn't go the route you wanted, huh, Joe?
man, Hey, it don't matter. I got another bid, man. I thought you did really well against that guy, man. You dominated on the feet, and he really couldn't do nothing to you. He took you down a couple of times and didn't really land no damage. I thought you won that fight rather easily.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was. You could almost make a case for me winning every round. I mean, the second and third were definitely a lot closer, but I did get up and put it on him after he had my back. So, I think I definitely.
Oh,
clear coat
no!
him. What happened?
Oh, man, he made it right at the buzzer. Is there time for a foul?
Oh my God! You guys have no idea
Foul
how
him,
we
foul
just
him!
lost.
Oh, that sucks.
Some guy just hit the dumbest 3-point shot ever. Sorry, Joe.
Wow. All right.
Hey, I got one more question, and I'll get out of here, man. Raging out, what do you think about this whole thing the UFC does about? And I don't want to get you in trouble, man. I hope I'm not, going up the wrong path here. But what do you think about the UFC doing this thing? Like, if you do us a favor, we'll do you a favor, and kind of like with the Kobe situation, you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back, and then we don't want to scratch your back no more. What do you make of all that business right there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about if it's like kind of you scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of thing. I think that I don't know what was behind Colby not getting that fight. That was kind of weird to me. I feel like everybody wanted to see that one. That was the fight that would have sold, but yeah, I don't know. I think he deserved it. Being an interim champion. That's got to be the guy that gets the next shot,
Yeah, I agree. All right, who else we got?
We got Giver Saint in Boston.
Giverson is his name?
Let's go with that.
All right, Giverson, what's up?
Yeah, Giver Saint. Yeah, I have a question.
That didn't clear anything up. What's your name again?
Giver Saint.
What's my name?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Saint Paul, Saint Mark, whatever.
Oh, Giver Saint. Okay.
And my question is like Colby Covington. You think that situation makes everything easier for Colby? Because now he doesn't have to face both like Tyrone or Usman. Now all he has to face is like the winner of Usman. So it actually makes things easier for him. And then my second part to that is Ben Askren. He's not going to face Tyrone Woodley, but how do you think he fares against Usman if he wins, or Colby Covington if he has to face him in the future?
Thank you for the call, sir.
Well, I think the position that Colby Covington could get in trouble in is, should Tyrone lose, that's where the UFC has to make the decision. Do we give him an immediate rematch, which would set Colby even further back?
Right. And that is a coin flip.
Yeah,
because I can cite cases of when they've done it and when they haven't, and it's almost right down the middle. Stipe didn't get it. Cody did. Joanna got it. Someone else didn't. I don't know. But there's a bunch of them, on both sides, and that's one game you can never figure out.
Here's my hot take. I think Usman is one of the more dangerous matches to, not saying I pick him against Woodley, but one of the more dangerous matches against Woodley. One of the most dangerous matches against Covington for sure. But in particular, the matchup that he was asking about, Usman versus Askren, I would actually favor Askren on that. With that being said, I could see like maybe his funk style wrestling really frustrating Usman and making him fight his kind of fight.
Yeah, I'd see that too. All right, who's next?
Dan from Oregon.
What's up, Dan? How you doing?
Dan.
What up, fellas? Good evening. Al, what are you doing in Vegas right now?
I am checking out the Performance Institute, getting a bunch of the evaluations that they do. And then at night I go to a different gym and train with a different I've been training with Skipper Kelp, worked with me yesterday. Great boxer, learned so much stuff. I love going to a gym and training with somebody, and it's like your first day, just correcting little details, basic stuff that you kind of forget about. So that was awesome. And then John Wood from Syndicate, I'll be going there tonight, training with him. I trained with him on Wednesday night, so I'm getting some good work in. I am sore, I'm tired, I'm beat up, but I love it.
Man, I haven't heard Skipper Kelp name in a minute. Nice.
He's
yeah.
What a tremendous boxer himself, and
yes.
now a coach.
Yeah.
He's got some really good stuff. I was just an hour of my brain just working.
You want to hear my prediction about Skipper Kelp?
Okay.
You ever see Dana wear Zuffa boxing T-shirts?
Ah.
When that goes off, that's going to be the matchmaker.
Think so.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That'd be,
All right, Dan, you got anything else?
Choice.
Huh?
That'd be a wise choice of matchmaker for sure.
Dan, you want to finish up?
Yeah, man. I want to praise Al because, man, you got the raging nickname and everything, but last fight versus Kevin Lee, that was, I think, the most calm I've ever seen you do a fight week and in there during the fight. And that calmness just seemed to help your game plan and get you right through that. As far as what's next, man, you talk about an interim champ up at 170. Tony Ferguson is kind of in the same territory. He was once interim champ. No rumors of what's next for him. As far as what you want, Al, you were supposed to have Justin Gaethje on that FS1 card. You ended up getting basically upgraded to the last UFC on Fox ever. Are you only looking up in the rankings from here on out, or would you kind of maybe want to run that back with Gaethje because he's been running his mouth on some of the radio shows? Is that a fight you want, or are you only looking up in the rankings, Al?
Yeah,
Thanks for the call.
I'm looking up in the rankings. I think Gaethje, he kind of had his opportunity, and he chose to fight Vic. So he did that. He wanted to do what was best for him. So now I'm going to do what's best for me, and fighting him below me in the rankings is definitely not. It's a good fight, but I think there's guys that will put me right up there. So those are the guys I'm gunning for. And I think that the fans want that, and I think that the UFC wants that. So I think everyone's on the same page except for him.
There you go. That's pretty honest answer there.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, he's talking about run back the matchup. They've actually never fought. You've never fought Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
So it's a matchup that was previously booked. All right. I think right now is a good time to sneak in this daily debate. So, Al, if you will, join us here. We're going to discuss a question that we put out to our listening audience and the readers of the site. I'll give you guys a couple options, and then you guys can figure out. We can discuss it here a little bit. So here's the question of the day, guys. For her third straight title fight at UFC 237, Rose Namajunas is the underdog against Jessica Andrade. Is she an underrated UFC champion? Yes or no, but please elaborate. You go first, Dan.
I'm going to go on a hot take here. I have a feeling that most of it's going to be yes and justified. I feel like she's been underrated plenty of times. But at the same time, if I'm being critical and I'm being fair, when you look at Ioana and Jacek, it's hard to say Ioana and Jacek didn't deserve that respect in the first match, obviously, and even in the rematch. Even though I actually picked Rose in the rematch, I corrected course after seeing the first fight. Still, I didn't blame anybody for taking JJ in the rematch there. And if we're looking at styles making fights, Jessica Andrade is a formidable force. The odds were close when she faced the aforementioned Ioana and Jacek, and I actually picked Andrade. I was wrong, but I actually picked Andrade to take the title from JJ, and JJ would hold the title and, of course, lose it to Rose. But stylistically, I could see that being a tough night, and I'm not saying that Rose isn't going to win. I'm not saying I'm not even going to pick her. I may still end up picking her. I haven't gotten to that fight yet, but I'm going to go and be kind of a contrarian here, guys. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of yes. I'll say no, and I love Rose. I love her skill set. I love following her story, and I'm wishing her well. But if we're being critical, I don't feel like she was an underdog any time where she shouldn't have been, if that makes sense.
All right, so you're saying no, she's not an underrated UFC champion.
No, I'm going to be contrarian here, and then I think I stated why.
All right, and by the way, those odds for that fight at UFC 237 in Brazil,
yes,
the challenger's the favorite at minus 175. That's Jessica Andrade.
Yes.
And Rose comes back at plus 145. Goes, what are your thoughts?
I think she is a little underrated. I think if you look at Andrade right now, her last two wins are over two fighters that beat. They beat Rose, so I understand why that line's that way. If you look at Rose's game, a lot of her finishes come from submissions. Jessica has been submitted in the past, so I think it should be relatively close. But I think on the whole, people do kind of. I think maybe because they look back at that Carla Esparza loss and they just think that can happen again. But she's shored up a lot of things in her game, and her last win has been 2 wins over the girl that just beat Jessica. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think she is underrated a little bit.
Al Iaquinta, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think she's a little underrated. I don't really know. I don't know how they do the odds on fights. I don't know how who. I've always kind of wanted them to interview somebody that is like the odds maker, picks the odds. How do they come to these?
It was the Wild West for a while,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do they come to these odds?
I'll tell you in a sec.
Yeah.
But let's we'll finish this.
But I think she's just a little underrated. She's a great fighter. No one gave her a lot. I think after the first Joanna fight, that kind of opened people's eyes. So I don't know why the odds were. I don't know how big they were in the second one, but she's kind of like a little under the radar. But when she comes to fight, you could tell she loves to be in there and she enjoys it, and she's a tremendous talent. So I don't underestimate her ever.
Do you guys feel like any of that has to do with her demeanor or her look? Because if you look
Sure.
at some of the females that have been successful, you look at Cyborg, right? She's got that mean look. Ronda would have that scowl on her face.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really have that, right? She's kind of got that loving personality, and even Joanna, she's up there in your grill.
Right.
You think some of that has something to play with it?
I think so.
That's
her
fair.
body type, it just looks like she's just prancing along. You know what I mean?
We do the same with guys.
Yeah, we do. And I'd say she's very underrated. So it's a hell yeah, she's underrated. But I don't blame anyone for thinking that, because I believe that the Joanna matchup is a lot of the key to why she's champion right now and why she gets a lot of love. Look, she was awesome on the show. She was Thug Rose, maybe the next Ronda Rousey. But she was coming up against other gals that just kind of had a good matchup versus Rose Namajunas.
Sure.
But against Joanna, she didn't succumb to any of the intimidation, any of the mind games. She went out there, and what she did do is polish up her boxing, and those straight punches got through. Second fight, I guess I was one of those that thought, it would be a lot closer. But I really think that Jessica Andrade and a few of the other gals out there have the type of game, whereas if they can stay away from certain submissions, but they can get her down, could she be one of those like an Anthony Pettis, or some of those fighters that they just take Carlos Condit, they get taken down, take a lot of damage. If they can't get the submission, that's it. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's kind of early to really assess all this, but I think she's very underrated. And here's another thing. 2-3 days ago, we all sat here and said, well, who are the champs that are most likely in 2019 to not lose? And we all said Jones and Habib, and I think Amanda got thrown out there. And who was one of the first, we all said. And it's nothing against her. It's just there's some killers. After Jessica Andrade, you got Tatiana Suarez.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's and
Willie Zhang.
Willie Zhang's another tough fighter. You know what I mean? She's got a rough road ahead of her. But if she can get past that, ooh, man. I mean, then I think now they'll be on a little bit of a downhill. All right, 981 votes came in. 73% said yes. 27% said no. So there you have it. There's our daily debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team and Raging Al Iaquinta. Raging, not Raging. Raging Al. A lot of people thought you were Raging Al, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always been raging.
Raging Al.
Yeah.
All right. You haven't been raging as much lately. You think you've matured these last 3-5 years?
I don't know.
You're kind of like Twitter Al, like speaks his mind on Twitter Al, but you're not really like. I thought you were a little bit more raging a few years ago.
Probably.
Yeah.
I probably was.
Who calmed you down? The new girl, or being a real estate agent, or?
Nah, I think I don't know. I guess I'm just growing up. These things happen. You know.
Do you realize that you're walking around with a human lie detector over there? Anytime you say something, we look and we try and gauge what his thoughts are, and he'll either eye roll or he'll agree.
You got brothers and sisters?
I got a younger sister.
Yeah.
Yep.
How old is she?
She's 29.
Oh, okay. So you guys are close.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
what does she think of your fight career?
She likes it. She
go to your fights?
Yeah, she goes. She comes to the fights. She's definitely, she definitely worries.
She's
but
screaming.
She's
Is she like a
into it.
loudmouth sister, or is she chill?
I don't know. Does she scream? I can't imagine her screaming. Maybe like a little, a little bit.
Like Tyron Woodley's mom screams, and Eddie Alvarez's wife screams.
Right.
There's a few of them that are out there, and they're real vocal.
I don't think.
Do you ever catch that stuff out in the crowd? People, what they're saying? Longo's pretty loud, and
No,
Sarah.
I hear Ray over everybody. I hear Matt, and I heard Aljo this fight. Those are the only people that I really hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. One other thing here. Give us a good street fight story. We always ask the in-studio guests.
Good street fight story.
Yeah.
You can go as far back as you want. Kindergarten, whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
The response from his dad was great for the listeners who can't see out there. Even
Hang
the
on a second.
viewers.
I know things get really, really heated up on the nautical mile. You got a good nautical mile story?
I did get my ass kicked on the nautical mile one time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was walking in by myself. I was walking in by myself and
Walking into what?
walking into the Broncos. Excuse
Oh,
me. So
okay.
yeah, Broncos is a bar on the mile, and so I was walking in.
None of the homies wanted to hang out that night?
Late at night. No, all my friends were there, but everyone got lost. Everyone just find people you find. You walk. So I don't know why I figured what I was doing, but I was out. I was walking back in, and someone the guy like threw a water bottle at me or something. I was
Damn.
like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Like what? And then my buddy Pat walked up behind me, and it was him and like 2 or 3 friends. So I was like by myself. I was like, dude, are you fucking kidding? Like I'm by myself.
Were they like
You're
white
with your
dudes,
friend.
Goombas, or what were
I don't know.
they? All right.
They were like, say, he was a white kid, but then, then my friend Pat comes up from behind me.
Pat already sounds like a badass.
Pat's a badass.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat's a tough guy. So Pat walks up behind me, and I'm like, all right, now it's 2 of us. The fuck are you doing? And then everyone stood up. It was like this guy had he had a million. So now it was just me and Pat, and it didn't work out too well.
You guys weren't able to pull a Batman and Robin and beat everybody
I knew a
up?
bunch of the bouncers too, and they were of no help.
Wow.
They watched the videos after. They have on the security cameras.
Was it a barroom brawl with like chairs and bottles?
No, it ended up going out into the street, and I ended up getting thrown into a car. I like ran into a car. It wasn't good.
What were the numbers? 2 against what? 10?
And then so it ended up being 4. 2 of my other friends kind of like came out as the whole thing was happening. But yeah, probably like I don't know. There was a lot of people.
You got thrown into
and
a car?
We were well, everyone's about my size. They were all freaking. I think I threw a punch, and then I was getting hit. So I tried to run, and I ran right, and some kid like grabbed me as I was, and just threw me into a car. So the bouncers were
into the back seat or the trunk?
right into the front of right into the hood of the car.
Kidnapped.
Onto a car.
Yeah,
Park car?
Into
It
the
sounded
car.
like you said
Not
into the
in
car.
the car. Yeah, into a car.
Park car?
Into
Parked
a
car,
car.
Yeah, all right.
I'm not crazy here. Into a car means in the car.
Yeah, but it's not into
threw
a
me in
trunk. It's not a
Yeah,
kidnapping.
I could see how you would
I don't know.
think that, I guess.
Yeah.
But nah, just threw me into the outside of
Onto the car.
onto the car.
Onto the
kinda.
car.
Yeah, my head hit the front.
All right. So
Yeah, I wonder whose
that one
car it
didn't come
was.
out too well for you guys
Yeah,
then,
no,
huh?
that wasn't a good
What
one.
did you tell the bouncers anything? Like, yo, what up? I mean, like,
Yeah,
what
they
kind of
were-
backup are you guys?
It all happened so fast. That was kind of their excuse.
What kind of a spot was
but-
Bracco's? Is that a nice restaurant or is it a bar, club?
Yeah, it's an all outdoors, right on the water. People pull up on their boats,
Oh, really?
and yeah, it's a cool spot.
You ever see this kid
And
again?
I have a bunch of good fight stories where I didn't get my ass kicked. A couple I did get my ass kicked, but you said nautical mile, so that's what brought up that one.
Oh. Hey, sometimes the ones where you're on the other side are kind of the funnier ones in retrospect. Not when it happens, of course, but in retrospect, right?
Absolutely, we all have a good laugh about it.
I had to share one here where I just got smashed, and it was like, I think, well, that was at the Hunters. That wasn't over there. It was at the Hunters, and I got stomped on. But that was one of the funner ones you guys had me share.
Yeah.
And you guys told me.
getting beaten up by the cheerleaders. That was good.
I can't imagine that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, when Baroni went to Central Michigan, he wrestled Phil Baroni, and he got beat up by some Central Michigan cheerleaders.
He got beat up by them?
He got beat up, yeah.
I can't see many people beating him up at that.
Well, he said
There was a
cheerleaders
lot of them.
plural, and
I
it sounded like
could
a lot of
see-
them, and like, you know,
I could see him being on the hit list of a lot of ladies, but that scenario forming
maybe
was
he
another
was
one.
buzzed or not. Who knows? But that was a good one. I like that one. How long ago was that one?
It was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Probably.
Were you still living under your pop's roof or no?
No, I think this is actually. So it was probably
You didn't have to come home and face the music?
5 years ago, because it was when I just moved out, pretty much. I think. There's a lot you don't know about. A lot of them you don't know.
Oh yeah.
Your pop's looks right now is making me wonder. Did he ever like try to give you a heads up before these things happen? Like did he ever Bronx tell you like Robert De Niro saying, "Hey, listen, kid." You get any of that advice, or was he pretty cool when you come home with the bruises on the winning side or losing side? How did that relationship go? 'Cause I see him nodding his head for people who are listening right now, along with your stories, and so it sounds like he was in your corner for back then.
He said, "Always go to the police first."
That's the key.
That's the key to not getting sued. Go to the cops first. So it's a hard lesson learned the hard way.
I know that when you collide with someone, and I'm just talking about the fender benders, you're supposed to, one good trick is, hey, let's just settle it between us, take down names or whatever, but as soon as you have a moment, you call that in and say it was their fault, and do not back down from that.
I think that happened to
You
me
guys
once.
didn't really give a shit, did you?
No, that happened to no. So that actually happened to me once.
At me like,
No.
Huh?
How do you know
Oh,
that?
remember I worked in the insurance industry.
Yeah, I'm actually doing the
funny.
math. That happened to me in my last fender bender.
Yeah, it's a race. Everybody's like, oh, okay, so we're settling, and then it's a race.
Yep.
And then because you're the one that initiates the claim, it has to do with that, and you stick to your guns, and then it's on them to disprove. I don't know. All right, Goes wants to take a commercial. Let's do that real fast. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We have Al Iaquinta, UFC lightweight, in the house. Lakers will collide with the Utah Jazz. Catch all the action from the hardwood on NBA Radio, Sirius XM 207 XM86, and streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. All right, I want to welcome to the show Jay Iaquinta, Al Iaquinta's father.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. This is great.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Now, this was all Goz's idea. Not that I have a problem with this, but he caught on to something. It seems like we asked Al probably a series of about 50 questions over the last 90 minutes. And Goz has this feeling that maybe of those 50, 45 were very believable. Well, there's 5 that were like wishy-washy. Okay. And the reason is because I guess out of his peripheral, we were talking about vestibular balance earlier, he kind of caught you nodding your head either in approval or like making these faces as if to say, my son's bullshitting these guys right now. So, kind of to clear the air. First of all, you must be proud of your kid. I mean, he's a great professional. He's one of the best lightweights in the world. You've seen him fight for a title.
Yes.
And outstanding guy. We love interviewing him. He's got tons of personality. So we do want to say that up front.
Yeah, thank
he's
you.
A great kid.
We're proud of him, my wife and I.
Okay. Now, that said, you describe Al to us. Growing up, I mean.
High energy.
Huh?
High energy.
Yeah.
Very passionate.
Okay.
And
did it surprise you that he became a pro fighter? Like, was that in him since he was a kid?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know about a pro fighter, but he wasn't afraid to mix it up when push came to shove.
And you coached against them in lacrosse, we found out.
Yes. Yeah. It was a long time ago.
What'd you tell your team? That guy's soft. Go up against him.
No,
he's the weak spot, or
no,
stay away from him.
I never really mentioned. I never made it bigger than it was at the time. It was just another opponent,
Who won
another
that
team.
game?
We did.
Nice.
Yes, I remember that one.
Did the strategy involve going right at Al though?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Just play our game.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, I love street fight stories. Al just told us one. He was man enough to tell us one that he lost. But I thought I overheard something about you should have told him. What was that one?
At one point, I think Al had more losses outside of the UFC than he had inside. I think he was about 4-1 in the UFC, and he might have been 0-2 or 0-3 outside.
Oh, okay.
But he, usually they took place at 3 in the morning.
You got the call?
I would get a call, usually from the police, and sometimes one of his friends would get involved.
You think you were on speed dial at any point in time?
At a certain point in life, but he was very loyal.
He's exaggerating.
Very loyal to his friends, and sometimes his friends would get into trouble.
Yeah.
And he would always jump into the fray, even though it might not have been the prudent thing to do at the time.
Yeah. All right.
But I had trouble getting angry with him because as he said, Dad, one of my friends got in trouble. There's no way I wasn't going to try and back him up. And even though his friend probably was in the wrong.
Did you play sports as well?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Which one?
I was a football, baseball player.
Nice.
What positions?
I was football. I was a receiver, and in baseball, I was a center fielder.
Oh, okay. Can you give an opinion on the NFL games this weekend? Who do you like?
I am probably, I'm still coaching high school football, so I have my own problems during the football season, and I probably know less about. I don't get the opportunity to follow pro football.
I see. Okay.
I'm too busy watching my next opponent's video.
Gotcha.
So I couldn't even tell you.
Coaching 40 years, you told us, right?
Yeah, give or take, probably a little more than that.
Head coaching the whole time, or?
Pretty much. Early on an assistant, but after that, pretty much a head coach.
How much can those are a lot of kids throughout 40 years. Do you remember a good majority of them?
Not, I also taught. I was a phys ed teacher, and I was and still am an ocean lifeguard. So I figured that between all of the kids that I taught, all of the kids that I coached, and all of the kids that I worked with, it's in the thousands. And I kind of lost track of what happened way back when. Certain kids I'll remember, and certain kids will remind me, excuse me, who they played with, and I'll say, who were some of your friends, and then it starts to come back.
In your profession, I'm sure you got to deal with, we over here on the West Coast, we call them soccer moms and soccer dads that get kind of out of control. But who are you come fight night when Al's fighting? How do you kind of control your emotions? Have you ever felt yourself kind of get out there a little bit more out of your shell?
Not really. A fight week, first it starts, he'll call me and say, hey, Dad, I'm fighting so-and-so April 22nd.
How come we don't get that call, Al?
So the first thing I do is I go on, probably most of the guys he's fighting now I'm aware of. And I go online, I just, okay, this is what his, and we try and find some video that I can see. But he's got great coaches, and they do a great job prepping him. So I kind of like stay out of the picture. I do, we'll work out quite a bit together in the weight room and stuff. But otherwise, my wife and I kind of stay in the background. You'll never see me, up front screaming like a madman. I'll just try and be composed.
Have you noticed that since Mr. Iaquinta sat down, Mr. Iaquinta to the right sat up very straight, put his straw down, was off his phone.
A little bit.
Yeah, there's still that. Yeah, look at him.
Now, this is very interesting just to get another perspective. Is it a gut-wrenching night when he fights?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's tough. As a parent, it's it's funny because my wife and I talked back when he started wrestling. He wrestled varsity as a 9th grader, and he'd wrestle some 11th graders who were, small 11th graders, and we'd be like, oh, please just don't hurt them and whatnot. And now we're like, boy, give us those wrestling years. It was so easy.
Oh, really?
Compared to the UFC,
Yeah.
you're going into a cage with somebody who's trying to, knock you unconscious.
Yeah.
It's tough as a parent to watch that.
Is it? But we're 25 years in, and I think we have we like the sport is a safe track record. So is it that still, or is it just you don't want your kid to lose?
You know what? Priority number one is we don't want either Al or who to get hurt, either his opponent or him to get hurt. That's number one. And then, obviously, because it's so important to him, you want your son to be successful and have a victory. But it's tough watching your son in a sanctioned street fight in front of you. Is basically what it comes down to.
Uh-huh.
Forgive me if this is too private of a question, but the one thing that we've noticed about his camp, Ray Longo in particular, is his relationship with his fighters is a little different. It's kind of like a father-son type relationship we've seen with his fighters. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Ray Longo and the trust that you have to give him? He's coaching your son.
Yeah, you know what? I observed when Al told me he was doing this, and the one thing I did, which you didn't mention, is I think you asked the question about boxing. Is I said to him, listen, because he had the wrestling background, I knew he was going to be pretty good there. I said, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to do it right, and boxing was a major part of that sport. I knew early on, so I made him go into Gleason's gym in Brooklyn, and it was about an hour drive without traffic. And I said, the best boxers in the East Coast are in Gleason's gym. New York City Golden Gloves, professional boxers. So he made that trek in 2 to 3 times a week. And he was one of the few kids from the suburbs. The rest of the kids were all city kids. And he learned how to box, and he learned how to, some tough kids were in there. And he wanted to do a double leg takedown on some of them, but it was pure boxing. So I think that definitely toughened him up. And it really taught him a lot of the boxing. And then we went to Ray and Matt. Ray did the MMA boxing and how it combined right in with transition into MMA. But after watching Ray and Matt, I have total confidence in those guys. Their relationship is a lot more than I think most camps. Everything is done on a handshake, and they really, it's a bunch of local Long Island kids. Aljo and Chris Weidman, Vellante, and Truck Gordon. They all grew up within about 7 minutes from each other. There's so many high schools in Nassau County. We have 56 high schools in a pretty small area.
56.
We have 56 high schools in Nassau County.
Wow.
You go recruiters love it
Is that
because
Long Island basically?
That's Nassau County is half of Long Island. Geographically, it's a third, and Suffolk County, Chris Wade and Dennis Bermudez and Ryan LaFleur, they're all out in Suffolk, which is, it's really next door.
Yeah.
But we have 56 high schools, and they all knew each other from high school wrestling, and it's a very, because you have so many kids, that's why it's very competitive. There's fights going on all over the place, which I was surprised. We talked with Michael Chandler once. I said, how many fights were you in outside? And he had never really been in a fight. And I go, you come to Nassau County, it's like Dodge City. There's kids either down at the beach or in the nautical mile. There's fisticuffs all over the place. They were all very competitive kids.
It's funny you bring that name up because I think I told you before the show, we've always pinned you on the all-dad team.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
of the effect that you've had on him and his career, the ideas that you bring to the table. Michael Chandler's dad is heavily involved as well in his career. Did you ever get a chance to talk to his dad by any chance?
I never met his dad, but we had Michael Chandler actually at our house for dinner. He has the same manager as Al, so he spent some time at Ray's, and he was going to the rodeo in Madison Square Garden.
Nice guy,
he stayed great young man, a lot of high value type person. So I knew he was going to be successful.
You want another one of those?
No, absolutely not.
Sure?
No, the water's good enough. Thank you.
Okay, just checking. All right. So I wanted to ask you, have you ever been to a fight of Al's, or maybe even a teammate of Al's, and you're sitting in proximity to someone that doesn't know you're Mr. Iaquinta, but they're saying something along the lines of, beat Al Iaquinta up, or kick his ass, kick Iaquinta's ass. What's that feeling like? Especially because you're reserved, you're a coach, you're calm. So I know that it's not going to lead to anything serious, but at the same time, what's that like?
The only time I remember that was early on in his career, and he was fighting somebody from Brooklyn, and Al just said, "I'm just going to wrestle him all night long."
Was this UFC?
This was not. This was Ring of Combat,
okay.
maybe, or even before that, maybe Rahway, New Jersey.
And the opponent's family was next to you?
And not so much his family. And the boy was from Brooklyn. And I said, "How do you know he's not going to be a really good wrestler?" And his comment was, "They don't wrestle in Brooklyn, Dad." So I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So we were there, and he had about 8 of his buddies, and the boy's name was Vinny something. I remember all of them in the front row, and Al took him down, was on top of him like the whole time, and his friends were getting a little frustrated. They were like, "Yo, Vinny, get that freaking kid off you! Get that kid off you!" And I was so tempted to turn around and go, he's definitely not getting Al off of him, because Al's a pretty good wrestler, and your boy obviously is not. So it's almost unfair at that time. But I didn't say a word.
Right.
I just was like, okay, let them keep yelling, and
And we talked about the fear of getting hurt or maybe losing. What about watching him win? What's that like?
It's not so much the fear of losing. It's really the injury factor that I'm always concerned with. I know how much he wants to win, so I know if he's not successful, it's not going to be a good night for him. He takes it very, personal, very to heart. And when he does, the last win was nice, because we knew how much, it meant to him, and how important that fight was as far as, where he wants to be. And it was a good opportunity for him, and we were very happy for his success.
If I'm not mistaken, you not only advised him to box, you're the one that taught him about vestibular balance and the peripheral vision testing things. Was that you if I read that right?
Yeah, you know what? I was a phys ed teacher. I just retired from teaching. I used to go online every morning for a couple hours, and I would just research what's going on in the world in terms of training. Mm-hmm. How can we get them an edge? Bigger, faster, stronger. And there wasn't that much difference, but I came across something the Air Force Academy was doing, and they have all their cadet athletes doing vision training. And the baseball team the next year led the NCAA in batting. And they said the ball looked big. It looked big. Look it up. It's pretty, and it looked bigger and slower. Some of their pilots who had failed their depth perception part of the test, their flight, when they were reevaluated, went through this program. They had 100% passing afterwards. So I started going online, looking at some of the machines they used, and the big one was the Dynavision D2 machine, a giant light board, and so I ended up purchasing one that will do anything for our kids. And it had a baseline concussion test on it, which was important to me at the time, because if I ever felt he got concussed, I could put him back on this, and we had a baseline score for him, and I would be able to say, "Ow, you know what? You're still concussed because your scores are not close to what they used to be." I would do it with him, and our scores went from the 60s into the 90s. He had a couple over 100. And I noticed it driving my car. I would see cars come out of intersections I had never seen before. And my initial reaction was to try and swerve away from it, to the point where my daughter would be next to me and go, "Yo, Dad, enough with the Dynavision here, Mm-hmm. And he told me he could see things coming, kicks and punches that, maybe had come a little faster before he got trained on doing this.
Damn. I like that.
Yeah, all the pro athletes, all the professional NHL goalies are all doing. They've been doing it for many years.
How much is that machine?
When I got it, I got a good deal on it. I got a refurbished model. It was $5,000.
Wow.
Now it's up to about $16,000.
Wow.
Oh,
But
really?
it's computerized. It gives you every score. There's a lot of different programs you can do. It strength trains. As the guy from the Air Force Academy explained, he said back in the 80s, strength training wasn't a big thing. In fact, some of them was prohibited. It makes you slower, you know. Now we know if you're not strength training, you're
Right.
behind the eight ball in this sport. And he really felt like this was the next edge, the last frontier of getting an edge. And Steph Curry is huge into it. A lot of the pro quarterbacks. Basically, it slows everything down around. It speeds up your ability to process information. And so, therefore, it really slows everything down. So I said, boy, what's more important than MMA to be able to see kicks coming in a slower, you know, speed and punches coming. And, you know, we kind of think it's definitely helped.
I want to hang out with him more than Al. This dude's cool. Wow,
take
that's
that from him?
Way cooler than me.
well, we're having drinks over here, and he knows about the vestibular balance and the Air Force. I remember also hearing something like that when we visited
They had a machine
Langley
over here
Air Base
at
as well.
Luxor,
so
remember?
I was able to relate. Yeah,
We were
exactly.
awful at them.
That's so cool. And you thought of that, and then you tied it into the concussion thing. You're looking out for them. You're helping them get better. That's cool stuff. All right, we got to take this last break before we wrap up. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We got Al Iaquinta in the house, UFC lightweight, and his dad, Jay Iaquinta.
Awesome, though. They are gorgeous George and Goes.
Every NFL game is on SiriusXM tomorrow at 4:35 Eastern. The Indianapolis Colts take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And then at 8:15 Eastern, the Dallas Cowboys face the LA Rams. Hear the games on SiriusXM NFL Radio Channel 88 and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. We're joined by the Iaquintas, Jay Iaquinta, father to Al Iaquinta. I have an answer for you, Mr. Iaquinta. The Jets' new coach is a guy named Adam Gase.
Okay, they did hire him.
Yeah, that's your squad, the Jets?
Jets and Giants.
Okay.
I'm a New Yorker.
All right, so you like them both?
I like them both.
Okay. All right. We are getting ready to wrap up. So the first thing I want to do is thank all of our guests for the week, and then we'll finish strong here with the Iaquintas. Thanks to Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Curtis Millender, Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns, Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith, Derek Lewis, and Big Pussy Vincent Pastore also stopped by the MMA Junkie Radio Show. And today we were joined by Al Iaquinta, and then we got a nice cameo from his dad, Jay Iaquinta. Shout out to Al Iaquinta because this is the exchange him and I had. Al and I. It started off with, hey Al, since you're in town, how about co-hosting MMA Junkie Radio tonight? Blah, blah, blah. I gave him the time and all that. He writes me back, oh, I'd love to, but tonight I'm training at that time. You know what I said to myself? This is what I wrote him back. I go, oh, well, we're daily, so how about tomorrow, right? But to me, I said, oh, this guy's blowing us off. Of the 24 hours this training happens to be, those two, you know what I mean? But those guys do it all the time. Sometimes they just don't want to do media. Last night I was sitting there thinking, well, who are we going to get? And all of a sudden he goes, I'm going to try and push back my training for tomorrow night. And the dude did it. He wrote me back, I'm in. So thanks, Al. That was really, really cool for you to do that.
I appreciate you reaching out to me and having me on.
But I'll be honest, I really thought, oh, this guy's giving me the Heisman, the Heisman Trophy. He doesn't want anything to do with us, and he's just doing his thing or whatever. But I was shocked when he said it. I was really, really happy. And we've had a blast with you these last 2 hours here. Got to meet your pops. So thanks again.
Anytime.
I hope the best for you in 2019, man. You put in work into the sport. You paid your dues, and that was a huge fight over Kevin. Look, we're not nut huggers. He comes in and co-hosts a lot. He's our boy, but we've known you for quite a while too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, sometimes we just have to make a choice. And so you'll see on the MMA Junkie staff picks, we just got to make a choice. Sometimes we're flipping coins. He takes one, I take the other. But anyway, we really do want the best for you in your whole career.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Whatever comes out of that.
Thank you.
Cool. And it was very nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Mr.
likewise.
Iaquinta. Good luck with the football team.
Thank you.
Maybe one day we'll head out to one of them beaches you're at. You said you still start working as a lifeguard?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What's on the agenda for later? A steak?
No, he's actually
blackjack table?
We're gonna go train.
Oh, okay.
He did push it back.
All right. Cool. Well, you guys have a good time out here.
Yeah, thank you so much for all you do.
Oh, thank
you guys.
Appreciate that. And folks, we are out of here. Keep it locked on MMA Junkie throughout the weekend. You know we got you covered. We got our the first big event of 2019 next week with the ESPN era basically starting off. We got two champions battling out. Dillashaw will be challenging Cejudo for his flyweight title. And I'm sure we'll get into that on Monday when we come back. Mark Ratner, UFC Vice President, he'll be our guest. So it should be a fun show. So for Al, Goes, Dan, Jay, and Josh back east, I'm George. Have a nice weekend and go out there and be a champion.
Come join us on the other side of the tracks.